What if the biggest twist in the entire Power universe is still waiting to happen? What if James' ghost St. Patrick never really died? Think about it. Every show, every spin-off, every conversation about Power still circles back to one man, Ghost. He was more than just the main character. He was the heartbeat of the story. Fans have been debating for years, searching for clues, and holding on to one question: could Ghost make a comeback? Today, we're going deep into the reasons why his resurrection may not just be a dream. It might actually be part of the master plan. Ghost wasn't just another TV character. He was a force of nature. From the very first episode of Power, James St. Patrick showed us a man torn between two worlds. On one side, he was the ruthless kingpin who ran New York's drug empire with precision and fearlessness. On the other, he was the polished nightclub owner, the man who wanted to trade crime for legitimacy and even step into politics. This dual life made him magnetic, unpredictable, and unforgettable. Every decision Ghost made changed the entire course of the story. He wasn't just living for himself. His choices pulled in his family, his best friend Tommy, his wife Tasha, and his son Tariq. And here's the thing, even after Ghost was gone, the story didn't move away from him. Instead, his presence became even louder. His name is spoken in every spin-off. His lessons and mistakes guide every character, and his shadow stretches across the entire Power universe. Think about Tariq. His whole story in Book 2, Ghost, is built around stepping out of his father's shadow, while at the same time repeating some of the same mistakes. Tommy, to his rage, his moves, his choices are still shaped by the memory of Ghost. Even when Ghost is absent, he's the invisible hand moving everything. That's the kind of character who doesn't fade easily. That's the kind of character who fans refuse to let go. Ghost also changed the way audiences connected with Power. He wasn't a simple villain, and he wasn't a simple hero. He was both at once. People admired his intelligence, his ambition, his ability to play the long game. At the same time, he made enemies, broke trust, and left destruction in his path. And yet, viewers kept rooting for him, even when he was at his darkest. That's rare. That's what makes Ghost feel larger than life, more than just a man on a TV show. So when fans ask, could Ghost come back? It isn't just about wanting more episodes, it's about unfinished business. It's about the feeling that Ghost's story wasn't complete. His presence still lingers too strongly to believe it's over. His legacy is the foundation of the Power universe, and without him physically there, the world of the show feels like it's missing something vital. That's why so many people hold on to the hope that Ghost isn't gone for good. When James' ghost St. Patrick fell from the balcony of Truth nightclub, fans across the world thought they had just witnessed the end of an empire. The moment was shocking, dramatic, and heartbreaking, but it was also full of unanswered questions. In television, death scenes are supposed to give us closure. The camera usually lingers, the audience is shown a body, and the world of the story reacts in a way that feels final. But with Ghost, none of that truly happened. And that's where the mystery begins. Let's look at the facts. Ghost was shot by someone close to him, and we all saw him stumble back and fall. But what we didn't see is just as important. We never got a clear look at his final breath. We didn't see his lifeless body being carried away. We didn't even see an open casket funeral that would prove beyond doubt that the man was dead. Instead, the story jumped ahead. We were simply told he was gone. Think about that, one of television's most powerful and important characters, and the writers never gave us the kind of confirmation they normally do. That choice wasn't an accident. This kind of ambiguity is a storytelling tool in countless shows before. When a character's death is left blurry, it often means the door is open for a future twist. Think of other iconic characters in pop culture, those who were killed on screen only to return later with an explanation about how they survived. It's a classic TV move. Make the audience think it's over, let them grieve, and then, years later, bring the character back in a shocking reveal. Ghost's so-called death fits perfectly into that playbook. There's also the matter of his funeral. Fans have pointed out that we never saw Ghost laid to rest with our own eyes. Tariq, Tasha, and even Sax all spoke of Ghost's death, but notice how the show relied on characters' words rather than showing the actual evidence. Why would the writers skip the most important visual moment of closure for fans? Some argue it's because the truth about Ghost's fate is still hidden. Others believe it was intentional misdirection, giving the creators flexibility to bring him back if they choose. Another detail worth noticing is how different characters reacted to Ghost's supposed death. Instead of moments of absolute certainty, what we got was a series of fragmented perspectives. Each spin-off referenced Ghost in ways that felt more symbolic than final. Tariq sees his father in visions. Tommy talks about him with anger as if Ghost could still be around, and even Rashad Tate drops hints about Ghost's political legacy as though the story isn't over. The dialogue keeps Ghost alive in spirit, but also, potentially, in reality. Even Courtney Kemp, the creator of Power, has played into this uncertainty. In interviews, she has been careful with her words. She's admitted that Ghost is dead in the context of the show, but has never fully closed the door on his return. That kind of teasing fuels speculation because if Ghost was truly gone with no chance of return, why keep the conversation alive? Why not shut it down completely? The answer might be simple. Ghost's death was never meant to be the final word. There's also the symbolism of his name itself, Ghost. From the beginning, James St. Patrick was written as a man who could disappear, who could exist in two worlds at once. He was a businessman and a criminal, a family man and a liar, a friend and a betrayer. His entire character was built on duality. And what better way to honor that theme than to make his death another layer of illusion? A ghost doesn't. Diet lingers. It haunts. It waits for the right moment to return dots to the question we should be asking isn't was Ghost killed? But was Ghost silenced long enough to set up the next chapter? Every piece of missing evidence, every skipped scene, and every cryptic line of dialogue points to a bigger possibility. Ghost's death wasn't a full stop. It was a pause, a carefully placed question mark in the story. If Ghost is alive, where has he been? Is he hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to reclaim his empire? Or did he stage his own fall to escape the endless cycle of betrayal and revenge? These are the questions that keep fans glued to the Power universe, searching for answers in every spin-off, every line, and every shadow. Because deep down, everyone knows the truth. Ghost's story feels unfinished, and unfinished stories rarely stay buried forever. When it comes to television, no character's fate is decided by the story alone. Behind every shocking twist or final death, there's another force at play: business. The Power universe isn't just a set of shows, it's a franchise. And franchises live or die based on the characters that fans can't stop talking about. James Ghost St. Patrick is that character. Even years after his fall from Truth nightclub, people are still debating his survival, rewatching his scenes, and demanding his return. From a business standpoint, that kind of passion is priceless. Think about it this way. Power was built on Ghost's shoulders. His rise and fall gave the show its identity, its tension, and its fan base. Spin-offs like Book 2, Ghost, Raising Kanan, Force, and Influence all orbit around him, whether directly or indirectly. Tariq's storyline is literally named after Ghost. Tommy's entire arc is shaped by the betrayal and absence of Ghost. And even Kanan's prequel constantly reminds us of the man Ghost eventually became. The franchise keeps saying, Ghost is gone, but it can't stop building everything around him. That tells you his value isn't finished yet. From a storytelling perspective, Ghost's return would light a fire under every spin-off. Imagine the ripple effect. Tariq's world is built on the idea that his father is gone. So what happens if Ghost walks back into the picture? Everything Tariq has built, his choices, his independence, even his identity would collapse in a single moment. For Tommy, who has spent force raging against the emptiness left behind, Ghost's return would mean betrayal and brotherhood crashing into each other all over again. And for Tasha, who tried to rebuild life in witness protection, the man she helped tear down showing up alive would rip her world apart. In other words, Ghost's resurrection wouldn't just be a gimmick, it would be a nuclear bomb dropped into the middle of every storyline, business-wise. Stars and the creators know. One thing for sure, Ghost is the franchise's golden ticket. When Power ended, fans weren't satisfied with the way his story closed. Social media was flooded with theories, petitions, and endless discussions. That kind of engagement is exactly what networks crave. Ratings spike when fan-favorite characters are teased to return. Just the possibility of Ghost coming back could boost viewership across all spin-offs. Imagine the headlines, the interviews, the trailers with just a shadow of Ghost's face. Fans would flood back instantly. And in the competitive world of television, that's how you keep a franchise alive. But it's not just about numbers. Ghost's return has the power to tie the entire Power universe together in a way nothing else can. Right now, the spin-offs feel like branches stretching out in different directions. Tariq in Book 2, Tommy in Force, Kanan in the prequel, they all had their own flavor. But without Ghost, there's no core binding them tightly. A shocking comeback could unify everything again, making the story feel less like scattered parts and more like one epic saga. There's also a creative reason why Ghost's story might not be finished. His character arc never reached its true conclusion. He wanted out of the game, he wanted legitimacy, and he wanted to be remembered as more than a drug dealer. But when he died, none of that happened. He died with enemies, with unfinished dreams, and with his family broken. From a writing perspective, that isn't a true ending, it's a setup. A resurrection would give the writers the chance to finally close Ghost's story on his own terms, whether that's redemption, revenge, or ultimate downfall. And then there's the power of shock value. Television thrives on surprises. No twist would hit harder than the man everyone believed was gone walking back into frame. It would dominate conversations, light up social media, and instantly make Power the show everyone has to watch again. Ghost's return wouldn't just be a storyline, it would be an event. In the end, Ghost's resurrection makes sense on two levels. Business-wise, he's the magnet that could pull old fans back and keep new ones hooked. Story-wise, he's the missing piece that could push every character into uncharted territory. When you combine those forces, one thing becomes clear. The door for Ghost to return isn't just slightly open, it's wide enough for him to walk right through whenever the creators decide the time is right. If Ghost really is alive, the Power universe hasn't been shy about leaving breadcrumbs. Since his supposed death, fans have been combing through every episode of every spin-off, hunting for the smallest hints. And what they found is a pattern. Ghost may not be on screen, but he is everywhere. His name, his influence, and even his voice creep back into the story over and over again. At some point, it stops feeling like coincidence and starts looking like foreshadowing. The first and most obvious set of clues comes from Book 2, Ghost. This entire spin-off isn't just about Tariq, it's about Tariq dealing with his father's shadow. The title alone is suspicious. If Ghost is truly gone, why name an entire series after him? And it's not just a name. Throughout the show, Tariq doesn't just reference Ghost, he sees him. In Season 1, there are scenes where Tariq envisions Ghost watching him or speaking to him, like a voice in his head. Some people argue these were just hallucinations, the guilt of a son who betrayed his father. But others see them as a clue that Ghost is still out there, watching, waiting for the right moment to reappear. Then there's Tommy. In Tower Book 4, Force, Tommy constantly talks about Ghost. Sometimes it's in anger, sometimes in regret. But it's always in the present tense. It's as if Ghost is still alive in Tommy's world, influencing his choices. In one key moment, Tommy even tells someone that Ghost will always be a part of him. That line felt less like closure and More like setup, Tommy has always been the emotional core of the original show, and if anyone is going to stumble across Ghost alive, it would be him. That kind of reunion could flip the entire spin-off upside down. Another clue comes from Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. Even though it's a prequel set decades earlier, the way characters talk about loyalty, betrayal, and survival feels like a constant reminder of who Ghost eventually becomes. It's almost as if the writers are planting seeds, showing us the world that shaped him, reminding us that his story is still central even when he's not alive in the timeline. The prequel keeps Ghost relevant in a way that suggests the writers don't want fans to move on. And then we get to the little lines of dialogue, the ones that make fans sit up and rewind the episode. Characters slip in phrases like Ghost always finds a way or Ghost never really leaves. These don't feel like throwaway lines. They feel deliberate, like nods to the audience, teasing the idea that Ghost's story isn't done. Writers know how fans think. They know that one cryptic sentence can ignite months of speculation online. The fact that these lines keep popping up isn't accidental, it's marketing and foreshadowing rolled into one. Some fans have even pointed out the suspicious silence around Ghost's death in certain storylines. For example, powerful figures in politics and law enforcement who were tied to Ghost never seem to talk about him in detail. It's as if everyone just moved on too quickly, as though they know something we don't. That silence itself feels like a clue, like Ghost's fate is being hidden, not forgotten. And then there are the theories that Ghost might be in witness protection. This is one of the most popular fan explanations. The idea is that Ghost, always playing the long game, struck a deal before his supposed death. Instead of being killed, he disappeared into protection, waiting for the right time to re-emerge. When you look at the spin-offs through that lens, the clues fit. His absence feels intentional, as though the writers are saving him for a reveal. Imagine Ghost suddenly walking back into Tariq's life in the middle of a courtroom trial or showing up in Chicago during Tommy's war with the Serbs. The shock factor would be unmatched. Even Courtney Kemp, the show's creator, has added fuel to this fire. In multiple interviews, she has said things like Ghost is dead for now, or Ghost's presence will always be part of the story. Those phrases are carefully chosen. If she wanted to shut down the theory once and for all, she could say Ghost will never come back. But she hasn't. Instead, she keeps the possibility alive, making fans wonder if the biggest twist in Power history is still ahead of us. The truth is, Ghost has never really left. Every spinoff is haunted by him. Every character makes choices because of him. And every storyline feels like it's building towards something bigger, something only Ghost can deliver. The clues are scattered across the universe, hidden in dialogue, themes, and even silence. And when you connect them, a picture begins to form. Ghost's story isn't finished. It's waiting. If Ghost's return, the signs will look obvious. In hindsight, we'll look back at Tariq's visions, Tommy's conversations, the cryptic one-liners, and the silence around his death, and we'll realize the writers were pointing us toward this moment all along. The foreshadowing isn't just a trick, it's a promise.